Hi there! I'm Rex King. Welcome back to Monday Night Movie. Today we're talking about World War Z. World War Z is a zombie horror action film directed by Mark Forrester. It stars Brad Pitt as Jerry Lane, a UN investigator whose life gets turned upside down when a zombie plague breaks out throughout the world. It's up to him to find out where the disease came from and how to stop it in order to keep his family safe. This film's production history is a mess. It started off with a bidding war for the rights to the book that the movie is based off. The bidding war was between Leonardo DiCaprio's production company and Brad Pitt's production company. Now, obviously, Brad Pitt won out. Though I gotta say, I wonder what exactly would have happened if Leonardo DiCaprio had won. Anyway, the film had 5 different writers, which usually means a coherent mess. Luckily, this film somehow survived that predicament. It also survived the predicament of a shipping container full of guns meant for the movie being seized in Hungary by a Hungarian SWAT team, because nobody had filled out the paperwork properly. And what's even worse, nobody bothered to deactivate the guns. I don't even... Yeah. Anyway, the film came in over budget, and it could have been a completely box office bomb. Somehow it managed to make more than a profit, and actually managed to become second at the box office that weekend that it was released, June 21st, 2013. It came in second, right behind Monster University. This film really couldn't catch a break, could it? Anyway, so the critics were a little iffy on this movie for the most part. They thought it was a little tonally iffy, and they really felt it wasn't getting the science correctly. However, they did enjoy the action set pieces and thought it was a thrilling ride. At the end, they gave it favorable reviews. What do I think? Pretty close to the same things. Let's start off with a positive note, and that is Brad Pitt's performance. A huge amount of this film has to be carried by this guy, and he does a fantastic job. That's not to say that the other cast members don't do a great job, they just don't have a lot of screen presence. Meanwhile, Brad Pitt has to have all the screen presence because the movie's entirely resting on him. If you don't believe him, you don't believe the story. And then we come to the issues. The science. Okay, so this movie is a realistic telling of a zombie outbreak. At least that's what the producers said in the special features. And apparently, nobody did their research because they don't understand how viral infections work at all. So throughout the entirety of the movie, we're told the zombie plague is a virus infection. Yet we're still told that the people in the movie who've been infected are basically dead. Movie? If a host body dies, usually the virus dies with it. Unless the virus is an absurd mutation, there is no way it should be able to control its host body if it is dead. At least if it's actually dead. If it's just brain dead, maybe. But I think they actually meant really strictly dead here. in addition, they come up with a way to defeat the virus by infecting other people with other viruses with a high mortality rate but curable. Because apparently this virus infection can tell the difference between a healthy host and an unhealthy host, and it only wants healthy host even though it's killing them. So why would it matter if the host was healthy or not? I just realized another problem with this movie. Anyway, so here's an issue. Viruses don't do that. Viruses cannot tell the difference between a healthy host or an unhealthy host. They infect people at completely random intervals. They interact with each individual host in different ways, and they cannot tell the difference between host A and host B. So that doesn't really work. What's really annoying is, well, in the special features, they talk about a method that would have fixed this story if instead of a virus, it was a parasite. Because everything they describe in the movie fits the box of a parasite. And like I said, the special features bring up the fact that this is how a parasite works, not how a virus works. So, if that's the case, then they must have known that their own story wasn't going to make any sense. You know, five writers, and not one of them raised their hand and go like, why don't we just make this a parasite? Because quite literally, the outcome would have been the exact same. Another problem I have with this realistic zombie movie is apparently the United States government doesn't know how to handle a zombie plague, which, given their handling of the COVID-19 virus, might not be too far off, but still, they are apparently idiots because they decide to send Jerry with one medical scientist and a small handful of guards to try to find patient zero. Two things. Patient zero doesn't mean jack if you're trying to make a vaccine, which is what they were trying to do, because the original virus has mutated to this point, so you need to take a look at the current virus to find a way to make a vaccine for it, not the original. Second, why do they send only one scientist? Was there no one else available? I mean, don't get me wrong, sending a medical scientist is a perfectly great idea, but you should have sent a team of medical scientists. Why did you send a UN investigator? I mean, a UN investigator's not exactly a medical scientist. He's not going to be able to tell you what's going on. Why did you... I don't even... This film makes wild decisions that make no sense. That being said, the people were right. This film has some fantastic action set pieces. It really was thrilling, and I was on my edge of my seat to see how Jerry survived his encounters with the zombies. I just wish it had better representation of medical science. But I guess I have to wait for that to happen. At the end of the day, World War Z is not a bad movie. It's just not particularly great. Now, as you can see, I have the Blu-ray. Now, the Blu-ray has two different versions of the film. The unrated version and the theatrical version. I watched both versions. I didn't notice much of a difference. The Blu-ray also comes with a behind-the-scenes featurettes, which is realistically 3 or 4 featurettes about how they came up with certain set pieces within the movie. They're not as in-depth as certain other special features, but they're relatively fine. This film has no commentary, and that's a little weird. Usually you expect to see that in a movie like this. But if you're a fan of this movie, you could probably settle for the DVD copy. I mean, the special features aren't that compelling. I give this film a 6 out of 10. At the end of the day, it is a fun, action, thrilling ride. It's just not particularly believable for a realistic zombie movie. Well, next time I look at a movie from the 1940s, a classic, and All About Eve.